Hello everyone, and welcome to another patch review for WARNO. As usual, this time has been really quick and has gotten a new patch out already on a Monday, nonetheless, to get us all the changes that we need for Masena to work properly. So, a lot of good changes in addition to that as well, but the Dragon 2 meta already is over. They nerfed the Dragon 2 infantry by quite a good margin, so the American infantry isn't nuking everything from across the field for super cheap anymore. So that is good. Dragon 2 performance is the same, but prices and so on have gone up. But let's start with the recall that they named in this one, and that is the recon. As they have, first of all, added a couple new recon versions of existing vehicles, including these new models of the BMP 1P with the Fagot launcher now on top, and the Aufklärer BMP1 here with good optics. And then they have gone around and changed the optics of vehicles and adjusted prices accordingly. And one of those price changes that is quite big is that the Bradley now is back to 100 points and not 80 or 60 points anymore, but has very good optics. And the AMX 10 also got nerfed up to 85 points, but also got very good optics. So interesting how they will perform. I'm really looking forward to see how good they will be on the battlefield now. I think they should still be pretty good. Very good optics obviously is quite nice. Looks also got a slight nerf in price for its very good optics and so on. But yeah, you can see now with these quite a bit better than before. But you also have to pay a bigger price, so they're not as effective as a two carrier as they had been before. Though still quite competitive, or actually better than the TOW 2 carriers in here in price. So compared to the Jaguar, they're still cheaper than the Jaguar with better optics. So yeah, that is that part. But in general, a quite good change, especially with the new vehicle versions and so on as well, so that's quite cool. Then one more generic buff is that satchel charges now are more efficient, as we can see on engineers. Where are engineers? There are engineers. They now do 2 damage again instead of 1 damage, so that is pretty nice as well. And then we come to the NATO changes already, as there have been quite a couple, as I said, mostly around the Dragon 2, but a couple of smaller changes as well. One of the first is that in the air tab, we have to get something in, I guess, to add them all in. The A10 has gotten cheaper. The AT version went from 260 to 220. The other versions went down a bit as well, to 200 each, the HE and the rocket version. The F-15 Eagle also went down in price, but it also went down 10% in ECM. But on the Soviet side, we have slight price reductions to the top-end fighters as well. MiG-31 now 260 points, and further down below, the Su-27 also now 280 points. So on par in price with the F-15 now. Trades more missiles for slightly less speed and ECM. So the top end planes are now slightly cheaper on both sides. And then on NATO side, we got in the infantry tab quite a bit to cover. As, come on, we want to see all these units. The mech rifles now went 5 points more up, and especially they went down in availability. Fireteam Dragon went up 5 points. The Fireteam Dragon Airborne also went up 5 points. If we can find it here somewhere. Fireteam Dragon Airborne. And the Dragon Airborne went up quite a couple of points. Maybe even a bit too much. 85 points feels a bit high, especially as they also got reduced in availability. The Dragon 2 is powerful, but maybe 80 or 75 points would be better, as it isn't better than the mech rifles. So that is a nerf that I don't quite get. Like, yes, it can forward deploy, but it misses out on 1 MG, and it misses out on 2 Dragon 2's carrying capacity. So I feel like it should be the same price, or even 5 points cheaper. As yes, it has forward deployment, but that doesn't make it better than the mech rifle here, in that regard, and in that extent. So American infantry by now not as broken anymore. Stingers also went up again in price to 35 points, and in the then the other units that got reduced in price on the Germans are in the German side though on NATO. The Feldjägers went down to 15 points, so they are worthwhile considering now as the cheapest infantry in the game with their 4 MP4s. They obviously only hold ground a bit, but if you want to have a unit that cheaply spots something for you, the Feldjägers are worthwhile bringing. And then the Heimatschützen went down in 5 points as well. So that is pretty cool, as they are now cheaper than the Jaegers, so they are worthwhile consideration. Yes, they have the same weapon loadout, but they come on later lower veterancy, forcefully so you can't take them on higher veterancy. So they are for sure performing worse than the Jaeger. And yep, now that is a choice as well. Fallschirmjägers, on the other hand, went up 5 points in price, so that the second Panzergrenadier start now is slightly more expensive if you want to use Fallschirmjägers, and you can't bring as much support with them, which is a nerf that was well earned, as well as the Panzerfaust 3 also is a really good anti-tank weapon here in this loadout. Then we move over to the PACT, and the PACT got some nice buffs in general. Outside of the plain buffs, the buff to the East German is that the Volkspolizei Bereitschaft went down 5 points in price from 25 to 20. So they're the second cheapest infantry now in the game with 20 points. And they are quite a bit better, I would say, than on the other side, the Feldjäger, as they have 2 more men with SMGs, and they have an AT weapon, so they are really good value now for 20 points, I would say. But another unit in the same formation also went 5 points cheaper, and that one is the KDA Schützen. So the man spam now is really, really real on the Erfurt division. So that is quite nice. The KDAs really doing the damage now. Really cost efficient, I would say, for this price, and a pain to deal with for the enemy. So that's really what the division needed, a bit more spam, as that's basically their flavor in the infantry department, and it's nice to see their unique units getting a buff. Then another unit that got buffed in these divisions on all PACT formations is the Conquerors. The Conquerors went down 5 points in price, so it's now only costing 55 points, which makes sense. Maybe even 50 points would be making sense, but at least being cheaper than the ITO is good, as it has 15% less accuracy than the ITO, so it obviously needs to be cheaper. Maybe the ITO should go 5 points up to make it 10 points separation, though I guess indirect balancing is fine, but directly being the same price with that much of a difference was not quite. So nice change here as well. And then we have one more buff for the Soviet infantry with the Dezhniv Saperi. Where are they? The Dezhniv Saperi going down 5 points. So they're a more worthwhile team now as well, as a light fire support team for 35 points. Though I still feel even for 35 points, they might be a bit too weak. They have an RPG that can help out, and they have an SMG, but 10 points more expensive. I don't know, though they have the forward deployment. But on smaller squadrons, this tax hits harder than on big squadrons. So with the airborne, I usually stick with the bigger squadrons on both sides. And then we have a couple of helicopter changes on the PACT side, where we have price changes for a couple of these. Mi-24 VP goes down to 260 from 300, as it's obviously not quite comparable to the Aquila. It's for sure a good bit weaker, and it's pretty comparable with the Apache that also has rockets and ATGMs. It carries more ATGMs than that, Apache, but it carries worse ATGMs, so that's a fair trade-off, I would say. It's also 5 points cheaper than that one, and I think that's a good point to put it on. And then the others are some of the Mi-8s that went down in price as well. This one went from 160 to 145, and then there is another Mi-8 on the East German side, I think, that went from 100. Yeah, this one went from 175 to 140. So those changes are nice. And that is it for the changes. As I said, the big changes come with the availability reduction. Oh no! I nearly forgot one more helicopter. That is not in the helicopter tab. That got cheaper. I'm sorry. Logistics tab is where we have to search that one. The Mi-26 now is only 200 points and worthwhile for its supply cost. Though obviously still risky, but we might see some of them now at least. So yeah, that is it. As I said, mostly focused on buffing the PACT a bit, but especially nerfing the OP things on the NATO side. And then the slight recon rehaul as well. So in general, as Masena already brought PACT and NATO on par in the tank department, now they are also on par in the infantry department mostly. And that is really nice. I already played a couple of games on this patch and it feels way, way better. Yeah, got beaten by Karma pretty hard, with him playing 39th, for example, and me playing 8th, whilst on the previous patch I crushed him with 8th quite heavily, and things like that. So balance for sure is closer to where it should be, and it's developing. And yeah, if you have more feedback, let me know down below, and I see you all in the next one. You can also find the patch log completely down below as well. So yeah, Eugen is doing the good work. And it's nice to be a WARNO player at the moment.